Hey, and welcome back. So sometimes you gotta make something so you can make something. And that can be a real rabbit hole or Pandora's box or whatever you want to call it. But in this case, I only had to make one thing so I could make my other thing. So I was trying to get this done pretty fast, and as you can see, the surface finish is not the best, although in the end it turned out pretty good after I finished it up. But you gotta remember that the camera really amplifies surface finish, so to your naked eye, it looks pretty awesome. To the camera, it might look a little ratty, but hey, that's okay. I just needed to get the part made. So there it is, one each machinist jack, and it's made from an existing adjuster that I had, so the aluminum cap has a little bit of float between it and the screw, which is actually quite nice for getting it set into place. And of course, the one-handed operation is just for your benefit. Alright, so there's a set of 22 millimeter bicycle grips. That's a industry standard size, and I'm just verifying that all of the parts are consistent in measurement because they are the cheapest grips that I could find in purple, and they all are. They turned out to be about 20 thousandths over 22 millimeter. And so you're going to notice that I do that several times in this video, is switch back and forth between metric and standard and reference, because all my stuff is in standard and I'm making metric parts. So that's a 1 inch piece of aluminum bar there. So I've got my 12-inch piece of stock turned down to 22 millimeters, and I need to make two 2-inch pieces of material also at 22 millimeters in diameter. I'm making a grab handle to go here at the back door of the van, and I need to get a centering measurement on the existing 6 millimeter bolt holes that are there. There's a little bit of play, but my calipers fit pretty snug in the hole, and so I just need to get the difference between the overall length of my bar and that measurement, and then I got to split the difference for the ends of the calipers, so that's like 140 thousandths on the end here. Split that in half, that's 70, and then double it back again, that's 140. And so just that difference measurement plus that gets me in the center of those bolt hole locations, hopefully. Alright, so here I'm trying to use the goofiest method possible to get my part centered. No, seriously, I only have one set of ER40 collets, and so the size that I need for my part is in the vise, and that's an Alina 3C chuck in the spindle, and so I'm just using that to get centered up, and as you can see, the pointer says I'm centered. And here's yet another way to determine that if I'm centered is just using the center on the steel rule. And if it looks level, well, it is level. I just got this ER40 R8 tool holder for the vertical spindle, and as you can see, that end mill has got some run out to it. I'm not sure if it's the end mill or if it's the tool holder. Pretty sure it's the end mill. I just haven't checked it yet, but it did what I needed to do. But speaking of end mills, this end mill, as you could hear, was not very happy about making this cut, but it's the only one that I had that was close to the diameter that I needed. It's about 10 thousandths over 22 millimeter, and so I just went with it, and it turned out okay. I made the depth of the cut 5.5 millimeters, which is 25% of the OD of 22 millimeters. I just wanted to go light first and go more if I needed to, but it worked out good. And hey, there it is installed. It makes it really easy to get in and out of the back door now, and especially to reach out and grab the back door when I'm inside the van, because that's a pretty far reach, and it'd be really easy to fall without that being there. But really makes it easy for my wife to get in and out, especially when she's holding Alex. And I like the way it looks. I like it so much, I made a second one for the side door. I added these aluminum extrusions to my table saw fence some time ago, and it makes engaging your stock into the table much easier than it is normally. There's a short distance between the edge of the table and the beginning of the blade, and so that extra few inches there actually makes it much easier to engage your stock. The problem is that this plastic cheapo handle is too short, and that's the reason the plastic ring broke off the back, because I was always grabbing the very end of it to be able to open and close. And also it's a little bit dangerous. I can pinch my hand on the extrusion if I'm not careful, so I've always got to be careful with it. Had enough of doing that. It's time to fix that problem. That's a 6-inch long piece of aluminum, and the metal shaft I'm going to reuse, it's got about 3.5 inches on the end of it, and so I got to go 3.5 inches in with one diameter, and then on the other side I need to flip it over and go in 2 inches with another diameter for a 6mm bolt, and then in the center will be a 1/2 inch of stock left, and I need to punch through that at 6mm so that I can bolt the handle onto the shaft and then screw that back into the fence. One thing I really love about this Multifix 40 position tool post is that normally I'm in position 0, but here doing this chamfer I'm in position 5, which puts me at 45 degrees to the part. Now with this bit it's off by a couple of degrees, but hey, it's close enough. So at this point, the part will do what I want it to do, is be a handle, but hey, let's use the taper attachment. For the first time, I might add. I haven't used it since I put the lathe back together, so it's pretty easy to use. Just release those 2 bolts there, and here I'm just going to adjust it to 1 degree. And then lock it back down. And then unlock this slide here, and then lock these bolts down here. So at 1 degree, obviously that's not enough taper. That's just for demonstration purposes, and I need to reposition my part out just a little bit more and reset the taper attachment to 2 degrees. Alright, so let's go for 3 degrees. On the milling machine, I made a quill handle and I put it at 5 degrees, which I really like that look. I'm not going to go that far with this. I just went to 3 degrees and I made multiple passes. I was just trying to get the blend line with the straight part of the shaft to be uniform. Really happy with the surface finish that I got on the tapered part of the shaft there. And now I want to return the lathe back to normal operation. I don't really have to do this because I can just unlock it and lock it, as it were, and it will be straight again. But I prefer to put it back in the middle and set the degree back to 0. It's just me. Doesn't have to be that way. Back to position 5 to do another chamfer. And I forget to do this about 10 times a day. Is I had it in free spindle and it needs to be in direct drive, obviously, to use the lathe. And I think that's one of the reasons why these lathes get a bad rap, is that people flip that lever over to back gear while it's running, and hey, guess what? That's no good for gears. That's just operator error. That's not the fault of the lathe. Definitely not the prettiest handle you ever saw, but hey, it's really functional compared to the handle that I had. It's got a lot of leverage. My hand's clear of the extrusion. It works just fine. It's a little bit long, which is probably going to cause me to whack myself in the side with it at some point, and I'll wind up cursing at it, so I think I'll just leave it off while the table saw is not in use. So the chip tray on the Rockwell lathe is not that wide. The footprint is very narrow, and so that means I spend an inordinate amount of time sweeping the floor. And I'm going to do something about that. The chip guard on the back side of the lathe turned out pretty good. I don't think I can make that any better, but the one on the front side does have some issue with the carriage hand wheel. It's a little bit tight, and the knob on the hand wheel itself does not free spin, so it makes it a little bit difficult to use anyways without the chip cart being there. So I may wind up making like a flatter kind of knob to go on there that is free spinning like it is on my South Bend lathe. But hey, it's just Rev 1. Gotta go down that road. Thanks for watching. Alright, you're still here. So this is a different form of make. Make breakfast. So normally you heat up tortillas a zillion different ways. You don't put them in the toaster. You put it in the pan, you put it in the oven, you put it in the microwave, what have you. This is a really great fast way to heat up your tortillas, although I will say it can be dangerous because you can burn them very easily. So you got to dial in the heat setting on your toaster to get it just right so that you turn out with something that looks like that. And it has a preformed little drip pocket, drip pan built into it. And hey, you can pick it up and put it down and it stays formed and it tastes great. Again, thanks for watching.